Something about this ESO Direct just felt right to me. Maybe it's that ZOS is trying something new with their content model, maybe it's that the PvP community is seeing renewed focus, or maybe it's just that this is the first ESO Direct that I've watched as a content creator. But despite all the doom and gloom in the forums and on Reddit that, quite frankly, we see literally every time an update drops, ever, I'm genuinely looking forward to what this year and the years beyond have in store for ESO. My name's Doc, and I'm here today just to give you my thoughts on some of the important things that we can expect to see coming to ESO in 2025. So the first and biggest change that we all knew was happening was the change in content delivery. ZOS has delivered chapters to ESO on a yearly basis since Morrowind all the way back in 2017. By 2025, people are ready for a change, and ZOS is taking a page out of their old playbook by moving towards what they're referring to as seasons. This means that we'll see smaller but more frequent content drops throughout the year rather than one big content drop, and not much more than that. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I was a little bit hesitant when this was revealed. Veterans of the channel, or those that know me personally, know that I also occasionally, and used to very much play a lot of it, play a little game called Destiny 2. I'm sure that a lot of people have played it, but a lot more people know Destiny for its controversies, mainly the Destiny content vault. If you don't know, Destiny will remove all of its seasonal content on a yearly basis to keep download size low and also probably to encourage the fear of missing out, referred to as FOMO. By this point in Destiny's lifespan, there is more content in the content vault than there is in the actual game. Naturally, when I heard ZOS was announcing seasons, I was a bit worried. Fortunately though, my worries were for nothing, because ZOS has already said they don't plan on ever removing any seasonal content from the game. There may be some time gating in live events and whatnot, but I imagine that will be a pretty rare occurrence. I think if done right, this new model could be a great way to encourage more frequent player interaction throughout the year rather than a large surge at the beginning of the year and then nothing. ZOS has also come out and said that they plan on using some of this extra time between seasons to work on things like balancing, bug fixes, and all sorts of stuff. And next was the new zone, named Solstice. This is a small island found south of Murkmire, and it's populated by both High Elves and Argonians, and is also divided by, what is basically the Berlin Wall into two sections, the west and the east. On one side of the island is the magical Somerset-looking tropical paradise, while the other side is very much not that. While I was a bit surprised that they didn't go with an area like Black Marsh or Hammerfell, I also don't mind ESO continuing to build lore for the Elder Scrolls as a series. The story will essentially be a continuation of the main storyline with the return of the Worm Cult and the Big Bad Molag Bal, along with the return of many fan-favorite characters. I don't have too terribly much to say here because we haven't really gotten our hands on it quite yet, but I'm really looking forward to trying it out. The prologue quest is live in the game right now, and like I mentioned way back in my Fallen Banners PTS video, it's a great quest, so I'd recommend trying it out. Up next is the big one, subclassing. I do think multiclassing is probably a more appropriate name for it, but I digress. Subclassing is the new game system coming to the base game with Update 46, and this is a hot topic in the community right now. What it will allow you to do is trade out one or two class skill lines of your choosing from your current character for skill lines of other classes. There are limits to this, but not a whole lot of them. It's a pretty free-range system. Firstly, you do always have to keep one skill line from your original class. This means that class choice will still be somewhat important, as you'll always be locked to at least one skill line from the class that you choose. Also, any skill lines you take from other classes will cost double the skill points. I imagine this really won't be an issue for most people, as there are so many skill points in the game already, but some people might need to do a little bit of farming before the system goes live. Finally, you can't take more than one skill line from a single class. This means that if I'm a Templar and I want some Warden skills, I can only choose one skill line from the Warden to bring over, not two of them. The community is most definitely divided on this, and Pretty much every conversation I've taken part in or seen online has people either saying something along the lines of, "This is the greatest change ever and I can't wait to use it," or "This will break the game and I'm quitting," with very, very little in between. Personally, I'm excited for it. I think for the casuals and solo-oriented players, this will open up a crazy amount of build opportunities to have fun with. For mid-game players who are looking to break into harder content, this might be their opportunity to do so. A decent amount of people will choose a class that maybe is strong at the time of creating them, but maybe received some sort of nerf by the time that they're actually ready to tackle hard content. So that person then has a choice to make. Build up an entirely new character again that might get nerfed out of the class meta by the time they're ready to hop into hard content, or try to find a group that will be okay with letting them play a class that isn't top tier for their role. Well, now that issue is a lot less of an issue. One character can have access to all skill lines in the game, and even despite the limitations, that means that your main toon will have an easier time of keeping up with class metas. The biggest argument I've seen against this is that on the PvE side of things, this will force a lot of people into very specific skill setups for endgame content. My real only counter to that is, what is actually changing then? People who really care about keeping up with the meta will do so regardless of what class or skill lines they have to run. I mean, a lot of people's skill bars already mostly consist of skills from weapon or guild lines anyway. Next time you jump into a vet trial, look at how many Arcanists and Sorcerers you find in the DPS roster. People who are score pushing or trying for trifectas are already locked into specific builds as it is now, and subclassing won't make that issue any worse than it already is. The other argument, though, is that this could result in some balancing issues for PvP. I'll be honest, I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough when it comes to PvP balance to have any real, firm opinions on that, so I won't say that I agree or disagree with that. The last thing that I'll say in this section is that I don't want you to think that you can't be concerned about subclassing or that you shouldn't voice your concerns. While I'm looking forward to subclassing, I do sympathize with those that have their issues with it, and even I am more of a cautiously optimistic view of subclassing. Though, like with one Tamriel, jewelry crafting, scribing, mythics, transmutation, and many other things that have been added to the game, I do think that people will eventually grow to enjoy or at least tolerate this system, and balancing will come if it's needed. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Those were the main points that I wanted to cover. There are some additional things like Zoss talking a bit about the Vengeance PvP test, some more zone refresh updates, and some cool things for returning players, but we already covered the bulk of what was talked about at ESO Direct, and I imagine the bulk of what people will be talking about online. This wasn't really meant to be so much of a deep analysis, but more so just my thoughts and opinions on things to come. If you want a deeper, less opinionated analysis, my fellow ESO content creators have already put out some fantastic videos covering every single thing that was talked about. As always though, whether you agree with me or don't, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought of ESO Direct down in the comments, and if there's anything that you're particularly looking forward to. Like I mentioned earlier, I know there's a lot of doom and gloom in the community if you're chronically online like me, but I really do feel excited about the future of ESO, and I'm confident that we've got many, many more great years of ESO to come. I'm also currently working on a deeper dive video into subclassing and how it can impact healing in our current build, so don't forget to subscribe and check out the link tree in the description so you don't miss that video. As usual, I also want to thank my Patreon members Dylan Stewart and Sharni Lee, as well as my YouTube member Austin Anderson. Thank you guys for your continued support, and I really appreciate you guys. Finally, I think all I've got left to say is that I've been Doc. Take care of yourselves, be good to others, don't forget to take a stretch break, and I will catch y'all in the next one.